We off in this place, catching vibes, sit back and we blaze in the sky like I'm out of space. Natural high, light it up, light it up, light it up. What's going on, cigar world? What's going on, cigar enthusiasts? This is Jack, the cigar enthusiast, and you already know it is. We back with another segment of the virtual smoke deck, man. How's everybody doing? Man, it was so hard. I'm not even gonna lie. If it wasn't for our guest today, it would have been so hard to make it at 7 o'clock. The Eagles, even though they're losing, they decided they want to step their game up today and actually have a good game, as they always do in the fourth quarter. But anyway, I'm Jack, the cigar enthusiast. I'm your host for the virtual smoke deck today. And then we have amazing guests. But before we get to the amazing guests that we have today, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, give me some big thumbs up. If you're watching on Facebook, don't be the only person watching, man. Share that thing. Make sure you hit the like. Make sure you hit some reactions. And also, if you do not know, we do shout outs on here on the virtual smoke deck. So if you hit that comment box, man, and like Laura did, man, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. If you hit that comment box like Laura did, man, you get to present yourself right here on the virtual smoke deck. And man, we're going to have a good time, man. Today is a great guest, man. I honestly, I'm kind of happy, not even really happy. I think happy is like kind of cliche. Man, what's good, D? What's good, LA, man? I really appreciate y'all coming in. Make sure y'all light up some Aganorsa leaf. But like I was saying, man, the guest that we have today, man, I've been watching him, man, and I actually been following him for some time, and it's just crazy what you're able to do when all you do is simply ask, man. He was able to actually bless us with his presence here in Jacksonville, Florida, and was able to see Dapper D's at his raw, unfinished as the product as we get it kind of together, and just some great conversations with him. And I mean, it's just crazy what you can do when you ask, man. So the guest that we have today, if y'all don't know, is Aganorsa's lead national sales and marketing. He is just freaking phenomenal, man. Everything that he does, one of the hardest working men in the industry, if you just ask me. Very knowledgeable, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you everything that he's allowed to tell you. Without further ado, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that share button. Make sure you hit that like button, and go ahead and hit that comment section as well. But without further ado, introducing our guest of honor for the virtual smoke deck today is Terence Reilly. What's up, champ?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Man, good, man. I hope everything is great on your end. It looks like you're having a freaking phenomenal time, and I'm kind of jealous because you honestly get to smoke Aganorsa every day, all day, and get paid to do it. So
I'm blessed.
What's up, Johnny, by the way? So, man, Terence, as always, man, thank you for taking the time to have this virtual smoke deck podcast with us. One thing about us on the virtual smoke deck, we're here to mix to really bring the conversation that you would normally have in a cigar setting to your screen and allow people to really get to know not only the brands and the people that's repping these brands, but also just to get, more insight on the cigar industry itself. So, man, we're happy to have you. And as I stated before, man, we're grateful for the time that you took out to take us on this roller coaster ride for the next hour. With that being said, man, Terence, introduce yourself. Not that you need an introduction, but introduce yourself for those people that don't know you.
Well, I'm Terence Reilly, and I handle national sales and advertising for Aganorsa Leaf. I've been in the industry for quite a while. I worked for many years for Casada Cigars. Manuel Casada is my uncle, and I had the privilege to work with my family for many, many years. And about 3 years ago, I came over to Aganorsa, and the reason I came was that they were the best cigar that nobody had really ever heard of, and it was my job to put them more on the map with the everyday consumer, whereas they were known within the industry. They sell a lot of tobacco. I'm sure we'll get into what's special about Aganorsa later. Yep. But basically, internally in the industry, it was a really well-known company. But to the average consumer, they would have no idea who we were. And so the best cigar you've never heard of is one you don't smoke. And so my job is to kind of preach the gospel and explain to people why Aganorsa is unique, and hopefully they enjoy it.
Well, before we get started and to diving into everything that I have planned for you today, because I'm telling you, it's gonna be a pretty dope session. I got some pretty laid out things in my mind that I want to talk about. One of them things that you hit on, but we're not gonna go there yet. What you smoking on tonight?
So I'm smoking, which is interesting in a way. I'm smoking the Buena Cosecha, and Buena Cosecha is actually a cigar. It's not one of our better known brands, but it was the cigar that actually got me to join Aganorsa. It's a heavy Corojo blend, and at the time when I was very blessed to be able to talk to several companies when I was looking for a job, and when I sat down with Aganorsa, I wanted to smoke the product. Obviously, I didn't want to sell something I didn't believe in, and so they gave me a Buena Cosecha, the cigar. It had a different band at the time, though. It had this kind of looked like something like artwork in like a Chinese restaurant, like in New York or something like that. It just was strange looking cigar. It kind of looked like a bundle cigar. And I was like, why would they give me this to impress me about the company? But then I smoked it and I was like, wow, this is not only different, it's incredible. And so that was a good microcosm to kind of the state of the company, where it was like a sleeping giant. It had these great cigars, great tobacco, but it just didn't translate to the end consumer through their marketing and through their advertising and through their general promotion.
Absolutely. And, I believe that cigar, if I'm not mistaken, was rated by Cigar Aficionado, correct?
Yeah, I believe it.
I think it received a 92 rating on the Toro.
I believe so. I always say, and I'm always blessed that when we get ratings, and I'm always very honored that somebody takes the time, one, to review us at all, and then to give us a high quality rating. But for me, it's always at the end of the day, what do you think of it? You're the one smoking it. Absolutely. So I'm always more interested in what the individual thinks of it than what any sort of rating or anything else. But not that said, it's always an honor to get great ratings, and we've been blessed.
Well, that's kind of a testament to the hard work that the factory does day in and day out. The master blenders there at Aganorsa Leaf to it pretty much puts them on that pedestal, like, I created this, or I came up with this blend, or this tobacco came from me. And to get it, Cigar Aficionado is one of those magazines that everybody tunes into. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a novice. The first thing you look at when trying to get into cigars is Cigar International. I mean, I said Cigar International. Shout out to Cigar International, but Cigar Aficionado. And you look at Cigar Aficionado to really start to kind of gauge your 101, how to cut a cigar, how to light a cigar. And then the best thing that people use it for is how to pick cigars. So most of the time they're looking at this top list of cigars and like, well, I want to try that. That looks like a medium body cigar, or that looks like a mild body cigar. So I'm going to try that. So, I mean, honestly, I know from your perspective, you're like, I don't really worry about it. But from a big consumer aspect, I mean, people look at that and that's a big deal. I mean, that, getting those ratings is really a game changer for companies. I mean, look at Agent Room and I know this is Aganorsa Leaf, but just look at Agent Rooms, how they're that 2019 number one cigar of the year got publicity off of, just Cigar Aficionado. So, I mean, it's a great deal, man. And we're going to dive into that a little bit more. But, man, I mean, that's all a testament to the hard work and dedication that y'all have there at Aganorsa Leaf.
Thank you.
And so tonight I'm smoking on the JFR Lunatic Short Robusto Habano, and I'm pairing it with some Huskin Whiskey baby bourbon. I never had this before, and I think it's a really great collaboration, especially with the notes you get out of your JFR Habano, man. It's just a lot of pepper. You get some earthy, leathery flavors as well, some cocoa, and you really get some hints of nuts, especially in the first third of the cigar. So I think it's going to really complement very well. But obviously, we got to, base off of how the second, third, and the final third actually goes. But shout out to Ron, RTB Cigars, tuning in. Said Aganorsa Leaf is great cigars, and I absolutely agree. Terrence, as always, like I stated before, man, we appreciate you coming onto the show, and we appreciate you sharing some of the insight about you. One of the things I wanted to get into first was like, you started off in 2019 with your uncle's company. I'm gonna mess it up because I'm not Hispanic, but Casada. The Q sounds like a K, but it's whatever. Yeah. Casada. You started with them back in 2009, and in 2017 you took on the position with Aganorsa Leaf after shortly resigning from your uncle's company. Like, what prompted you to do that? Like, what was the mindset that you had when you decided that you were going to leave there and try to go, and pretty much go your own route within the cigar industry?
Well, one, you got the years there, so you did some research. So thank you. It's always nice to see somebody that reads up a little bit. I would say, one, I was very blessed to work there. I had been down in the factory when I was younger, and then there was an opportunity to go work there, and I was there for just almost a decade, and it was the experience of a lifetime. But the company it started to kind of move in a different direction, and I was at a point where I wasn't going to be able to do the things that I'm good at as much anymore. And I was going to be involved in more kind of office things rather than traveling and development for brands and things like that. And I was kind of, I'd gone as far as I could go at that point. There's a lot of family members, and I'm a family, but I'm not a daughter, I'm not a son, I'm not a brother. So at that point, I kind of felt that I wanted to try and go out and do something else, and I was blessed to have the opportunity to end up with Aganorsa.
Yeah, you had a lot of selections, on the list of companies that you were interested in and that you interviewed for and different things of that nature. What was the deciding factor that said Aganorsa is it?
So it was really two things. One is that I felt they had everything they needed except nobody knew them. That was the problem. They're vertically integrated. They're one of the largest growers of tobacco in Nicaragua. They have factories. They have great cigars. They had everything there. And those things I can't fix, by the way. I can't fix if the cigars aren't good. I go to the factory a few times a year. You can't, change how a factory operates. I can't fix logistics, if they can't, import in a timely manner and get the product to market. Like, I can't really fix those things. Mm-hmm. But what they were lacking is where I felt I could make a difference. And so that was probably the biggest factor. And the other factor is I felt I'm still fairly young, at least in the cigar industry. I'm only 39, but I was reaching a stage that I think in 5 years I might have went after a safer role. It was a little bit of a risk in the sense that there were probably a couple other companies that, had I chosen to go there, would have been safer choices. They would have been like, oh yeah, of course he went there. And so this was a little bit of a risk, but I thought there, no risk, no reward. And I thought there was a great opportunity for me to really show what I can do and contribute.
Well, what I think a lot of people don't know is Aganorsa Leaf used to be known as Casa Fernandez. Casa Fernandez really, found its niche in the partnership roles for that matter. We spoke about very briefly about the New Cuba, which was part of the Casa Fernandez brand that came over to Aganorsa Leaf. And like you said, when you first came to it, and this is more of a testament to your work ethic and your knowledge of putting this brand and taking it off. Like you said, it was vertically inclined and it needed to project itself into the growth area. And, you really took this brand that already had, factories, really creating great cigars with, foundation, with wrapped, and different entities of that nature. And I mean, just put them on a pedestal to really, you know, put themselves in a position that was advantageous, not only for the company, but also for the consumer, because consumers were able to get better products and really get the knowledge of Aganorsa leaf, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, the job is somewhat easy. Is I just have to get the cigars in people's hands because people generally enjoy them. If the cigar is not good or it's just not right for the market or whatever, yeah, they'll try it. They'll say, "Oh, thanks," and then that's the end of it. We're not selling yachts. The key is that you need the person to really enjoy the experience,
absolutely,
and come back to it, and also recommend it to other people. And so, you know, that part was very appealing to me because I said, oh, if people try this and they see the quality and the value as well, because we're vertically integrated, the price points are incredibly reasonable. And I think we got a home run here. People just have to know about it.
Absolutely. And I mean, so you said that the cigar that you're smoking right now was the one that you really, you know, got introduced into the company with. And you was like, well, why would you show me this? But how much did that cigar and understanding the complexity and the robust flavors within that cigar made an impact to making the decision that you wanted to go ahead and join the teams of Aganorsa Leaf?
I mean, I would say it's what made me. I would say up until that point, I think had more of a. I took the interview to some degree out of respect. At the time, I had not really a connection at the time with the company. A gentleman named Bob Morris, who I used to work with. So he at Casada Cigars, he was our rep for us. But he also had gone to high school with Eduardo Fernandez, the owner, and Bob had retired, but he came back to work for Eduardo for a couple of years to help him out, basically, his old high school roommate. And they're best friends. They've known each other forever. And so when I left Casada, Bob called me and said, hey, I don't know if you've made any decisions yet, but would you take an interview? And to be honest with you, to some degree, it was basically out of respect for him that I took it. Not that I had no negative connotation. I just had no connection there, and I had nothing really to drive me there at the moment. And when I went on the interview and I had the cigar, I said, wow, this is really incredible. And it's different. It doesn't taste like all the other cigars out there. It doesn't taste like your, run-of-the-mill Nicaraguan cigar. And that sort of made me think, well, maybe there's an opportunity here. So I would definitely say that opened the door. And then seeing all the other aspects of it, seeing how they're vertically integrated, seeing how well acclaimed the tobacco is, how the cigars we make for other people and the people we work with, and how respected they are. And so all of those things kind of said, well, there's a lot of opportunity here, and where they're lacking is something I can help. And I felt I could help.
And honestly, not to cut you off, but I think it's amazing, like when you don't really know the outcome, but you go ahead and you go in there open-minded, and the different perspective that you get just by having open-minded, because I mean, you were somebody of interest for a lot of companies. And I mean, and when you start getting into that aspect, a lot of people want to bring you on. And so you see a lot of different things, but when you start going with your gut, the gut will never tell you wrong. And when you go with the gut and you smoke the cigar, it's easier to get behind the brand and have passion for that brand and push that brand in the direction that you want it to go, simply due to the fact it's easy to celebrate or, make it a bigger name.
Yeah, I definitely, the more I talked to them and the more I saw, the more the more promise there was, in my opinion. And so and like I said, I kind of felt that, like, well, in 5 years, would I want to do this? And I was like, I don't know, maybe in 5 years I'll be happier and kind of like playing like the role of a lineman or playing, a linebacker. And this was kind of the opportunity to play quarterback. And again, with a quarterback, he gets more of the glory and more of the blame. When you win, they give you the credit, and when you lose, they blame you. So, it's been a lot of work, and it's been, but it's been great, and it's gone better than I honestly I thought it would take a few years to do what we did in 6 months. I mean, it really just took off from day one. And that was a lot of the support from our retail partners, people I've known in the industry for many years, that really put their faith in me, and I'm always feel very humbled by that. And then at the end of the day, the consumers got out there and they tried the product and they support us, and that's how we keep the lights on with their help.
Well, kind of switch, going still that same route, keeping that same trajectory. Obviously, everybody loves your hair. Shout out to John Villanelli, man, for tuning in, and everybody else has been tuning in, man. We appreciate you guys. But John, to go back to John's comment, the best hair in the business, man. And I think it's funny when you actually see it in person. It's really a thing, So.
I could be known for worse things, so I'm glad that if I'm going to be known for something, it's at least the hair. That's good.
What's going on, Brother Red? Hey, I appreciate you tuning in. Hey, so since welcoming into Aganorsa Leaf, there were some major changes that underwent within the Casa Fernandez brands that obviously switched it to the Aganorsa Leaf. How much of an impact did you have to putting those changes into place, and what are some other things that we can expect to come from, the changes in the rebranding and the restructuring, and obviously building the Aganorsa brand to be one of those top tier brands?
So yeah, the big thing was the name change, which originally I had wanted to kind of do more gradually. We started it right away with Casa Fernandez's Aganorsa, and we started doing that in the beginning, and then at the recommendation of Dion Giolito and Nick Melillo, they kind of were like, hey, you should just tear the Band-Aid off and just go for it, which turned out to be good advice. But immediately we wanted to change that because, and there's nothing wrong with Casa Fernandez, but the problem is there's AJ Fernandez, and so there's confusion there, and there's nothing really about Casa Fernandez that speaks to what's different about us. Every company tries to separate themselves in one way or another. And so you always say, okay, what's different about Aganorsa? What's different about this, Aganorsa from every other company that's out there? And so you try to find something that you can say that nobody else can say. And so for us, it really had to do with the tobacco we grow, the seeds we use, the manner we grow it, the fact that we're vertically integrated and we control that whole process to make sure that signature flavor makes it all the way to the end product. And that was what's special. So it made a lot more sense to call us Aganorsa Leaf than to call us Casa Fernandez. So that was probably the first thing that really we started working on when I came on board. And then again, it's really about we do these Fuma events where you get to taste the Fumas of our tobacco, Puritos, you get to taste the Corojo, you get to taste the Criollo, see how they contribute different characteristics to our blends. For us, the biggest thing is just driving that enthusiasm and getting people to see. Anybody can make stuff up, and you can say, oh, this cigar's got tobacco from a North Korean nuclear reactor, and the seeds were from Castro's beard. And you can say a lot of stuff that's maybe will get a person to try it, but there's too much. It's too easy to do research today, and so you want that to be genuine, and being genuine is what drives the enthusiasm. And again, just take the show. Your introduction into the show, I'm all excited to watch. It's like, oh, listen, if you'd come on and been like, and tonight we've got a great show and we've got Terence Reilly and thanks for following. Like it's everything you're saying is still true. It doesn't sound that interesting, right? But when you hear that enthusiasm and it's genuine, and that's how you can tell it's genuine. You are excited to be doing the show and you're excited to be involved in this, and that translates down to the consumer. And so that's really what's key for us is to get the consumer to understand what's special about us and have that kind of be the fire that drives them to then continue to support us and to tell other people, say, hey, listen, you've got to try Aganorsa. When you say it or a consumer says it or whoever, it means a lot more than it does for me because there's, I'm at the end of the day, a member of the company, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. The average consumer has no reason to be enthusiastic unless he really enjoys the product.
And I kind of hit it on it first, but my first Casa Fernandez was the New Cuban, which is a great budget cigar that we'll get into here in a little bit. But as I started to, revisit the Aganorsa brand and started to smoke, cigars like the Guardian of the Dog, the Torch series, the JFR series, obviously all of the collaborations y'all did with rap, I mean, it started to really like put itself into a differential factor. You know, one thing that I love about Aganorsa, they use the Crileo 99 a lot, and I think that particular leaf produces a different type of flavor that you don't see in most. And a lot of times, you know, people be like, well, Jack, what does that even mean? You know, like what does the different flavors that it produces? And I think it's just a more enriching type of smoke that produces a lot more of, you know, milder spices for that matter, but it also brings out, you know, the cocos, the undertones of tobacco that a lot of people just don't realize. What's your thoughts on that particular leaf and the collaboration that you guys have with it inside your cigars?
Yeah, so the two seeds that are kind of the backbone of our flavor profile are Corojo 99 and Criollo 98. The Corojo 99 is really probably the more is more unique, for lack of a better word. Unique is you don't need a modifier, but nobody really grows Corojo 99 in Nicaragua on any scale other than us. It doesn't have the yield that other seeds do, but the flavor and aroma is really special, especially from Jalapa, and so that definitely plays a huge role in the taste that and flavor and aromas that we're known for. And then you have Criollo 98, which is more commonly grown in Nicaragua, but it's kind of quintessential Nicaraguan tobacco. So you have this kind of melding of this quintessential Nicaragua Criollo from Esteli, and this more, I hate this word because it's abused, but it's this more Cuban-esque Corojo 99 from Jalapa, and you combine them, and that combination is really what sets us apart.
Absolutely. And so for people that don't understand what the 98 and 99 mean, can you just break down for the people that may be watching that don't really know what you're talking about?
Yeah, so the original Cuban Corojo in the 70s was hit by something called blue mold, and it decimated the Cuban tobacco crops. They almost went away.
Yeah.
And after that, they started growing different strains, different variants that are resistant to blue mold, that have higher yield, that are have bigger leaf, all these different types of characteristics that you want to grow for. And there's a whole bunch. And so, in the year symbolizes the year that they were kind of introduced into the market. So you have Criollo 98, Corojo 99, Habano 2000, Corojo 2006, Corojo 2012. And so they're just all different variants of that original Cuban Corojo seed. And like I said, the Criollo 98 is very commonly grown in Nicaragua, but the Corojo 99 is not.
Yeah, and absolutely. And just to expand on that, a lot of what Terence is talking about has a lot to do with the Cuban C factor, and really getting into kind of the quote unquote roots of cigars. I really don't like that term. I mean, personally, I hate when people be like, well, it's a Cuban seed. Oh my God, it's a Havana seed or whatever, because in all actuality, all it is a tobacco seed. It's not, it has nothing to do with the climate that the tobacco is grown in. And quite frankly, if you ask a lot of cigar enthusiasts like myself, there are debatable aspects about Cuban tobacco and Nicaraguan tobacco. But to you, that's what I really want to know is, to you, what is really the differential factor that makes Nicaraguan tobacco seeming? It's not even seeming like it's more almost like it's a worldwide thing that Nicaraguan tobacco is really kind of better than your Cuban tobaccos.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's ultimately all about taste, right?
Yep.
Is Scotch better than bourbon? Is Cabernet from Napa better than Bordeaux? Those are ultimately, that's an opinion. And you can make an argument either way. I would say what Nicaragua has really going for it is that it has kind of the taste of the market right now. It has very the earth in Nicaragua. You have that dark, rich volcanic earth, especially in Esteli. The soil is great for tobacco, and you also have the infrastructure and the investment to produce it on a quality scale. So you're getting the best product that the land can produce, and that's really what's made Nicaragua, I think, so productive and has grown tremendously. in the past 10 years, I think they're producing 100 million more cigars or something than they did 10 years ago, which is insane. So yeah. I would say it's those factors that really set it apart. Because you can get a great cigar anywhere, but certainly Nicaragua has the taste and has the situation right now that it's really it's definitely the flavor for the current taste.
Yeah. And I think, Nicaragua, a lot of people love Cubans because, especially in America, people love Cubans because they can't get Cubans. But what they realize is they actually get a magnificent product that is, has so much attention to detail to it, from, the seeding to the actual fermentation to the aging to the rolling to, getting it to the actual retail locations to sell. And I think a lot of people forget about those because it doesn't say Cuba behind it. And, in my personal preference, this is just my personal preference. It doesn't really care who I have on the show. My personal preference, I think the best, Aganorsa Leafs Nicaragua can go head to head with any Cuban that'll go. And to put it out there, right? I would even say like the Guardian of the Dog, the Torch Visionaries. Those are freaking magnificent cigars that don't really get the recognition that it has on the mega scale. And speaking of recognition, 2020's top 25 list is coming by Cigar Aficionado. Now I know you said that this is more of a something that you don't really focus on, but obviously sales wise it drives it. You can sell out of a product just by making that list. If you had to make a decision on what you think will hit that list out of Aganorsa Leaf, what would it be and why?
Well, two things. One is that I have no control over these things, so to be honest with you, I don't really even think about them that much. Like it's something that I try to focus on what I control, and we try to make great cigars, and we try to make sure they're consistent and delicious, and that's really where beyond that we don't have too much control. The only thing that could potentially make the list, I think, this year is, remember, there's also, they have a bunch of rules of how they do things, and so sometimes somebody will say, well, how come this wasn't on their list? It's like, well, they didn't even rate that this year, so it's got to be rated number one. It has to have a certain rating level. I know that our Aganorsa Leaf Connecticut was rated a 92 recently, and so that qualifies to potentially be on there. But who knows? Maybe it'll be, maybe it won't be. I swear to you, man, I really don't. I don't spend any time thinking about that at all.
And I absolutely understand, and hands down, I believe you. But if you were to put a cigar up for Aganorsa Leaf to be on that list, what would it be and why?
If I could select what cigar it would be?
You can select what cigar that they were taste, because they don't taste with bands, they taste with numbers. Yeah. But if you was to put one up there and say this one can go head for head with any cigar on the market, what would it be and why?
Well,
it's just your personal preference.
Yeah. So, well, there's the personal preference, and then there's the part of me that's thinking from a business perspective. So, for instance, I would say just purely on like our Aniversario Cuban 109 Maduro that we released this summer. It's made in Miami. It's like a chocolate milkshake. It contains our shade grown Corojo Maduro wrapper that we grow in Nicaragua. It's a proprietary wrapper. It's all made by a single roller in Miami. It's delicious. It's an amazing cigar. We only made 250 boxes, so I don't know if I want that on the list where I can't really sell any more of them. So, but if I had to pick one for purely just taste, it would probably be that. If I had to pick something that might have some more commercial viability to us, I would probably say our Torch. I think the Torch is really a great cigar. I think it gives a different experience because it's a brush foot. You're not tasting the wrapper until you get past the first quarter inch or half inch or so, and that gives you a great opportunity to see how the binder and filler tobaccos. They kind of wake up the palate. It's not exactly balanced, but it's kind of kind of gets your attention, and then it hits the wrapper, and you see how that our Corojo 99 wrapper contributes to the overall flavor of the cigar and rounds it out and makes it balanced and complex. So I think that cigar is an amazing experience for somebody to see how we kind of create our profile.
Well, I kind of hit on that. It was kind of a two-part question, because what a lot of people may not be aware of is that Aganorsa Leaf, right after you came on, the Guardian of the Dog hit number 8 on the Cigar Aficionado, number 8 on that list. And then 2018, it came back with the JFR, the short Robusto Habano that I'm smoking. And then 2019 kind of skipped by you guys, but I really think the way that, you know, Aganorsa Leaf is going, that is gonna have something on that list. And the reason I say that is y'all had some amazing releases this year, you know, from the hot cakes, from that has the Mexican San Andreas wrapper with the Nicaraguan binders and fillers that we spoke about today. And then y'all also revamped the Torch series to add a couple different Ventolas to the mix, and really was, you know, one of those that was kind of a big bang, you know. And it's weird because a lot of, you know, talking to manufacturers, a lot of people kind of veered away from, you know, major releases because of shortages in tobacco and production at the actual factories. How was that for you guys? You know, what was like the contributing factor that said, you know what, we are going to release, I think it was like 3 cigars or maybe even more that I could think of.
Yeah, I mean, we're a vertically integrated company, so that's a big advantage. You know, we have tobacco. We to give you an idea, we harvest about 17,000 bales a year. The factory only uses about 10% of that. The rest we sell. So, you know, if we need to dig into tobacco, there's plenty of tobacco that we can always, you know, divert to ourselves if necessary, because we grow so much. So there was really no reason to not release anything, because we had the infrastructure that was capable of doing it.
Yeah, I think the HVC hotcakes really, you know, took everybody by a landslide once it first dropped. I think, you know, when people got to smoke the HVC hotcakes, it was just an impactful smoke. What was your first thoughts when you smoked that prior to it actually being released?
It's funny. My first thought was it's going to sell really well. You know, which is funny because I have to do two things when I. And this does not sound. Nobody feels bad for your ear, but like smoking cigars in that context is not the same as what I'm doing right now, which is just smoking the cigar and enjoying it and having a conversation with you. And this is a different thing. So when he was Rainier from HVC was kind enough to hand me one of his cigars and say, "Hey, what do you think of this?" I'm not thinking so much about like my own taste. I'm thinking about where does this fit in the market? How's the construction? How's the draw? Where does this land? Is this the flavor that it's going to find a home in his portfolio and that kind of thing? And so, to me, smoking it, my first thought was, man, this is going to sell really well, because I thought I had just had it had a little bit. It was a little bit more intense than a lot of his stuff. It didn't taste like anything else in his portfolio. It really was the type of cigar the market seems to really desire right now. Especially on the boutique side. So to me, it checked all the boxes to be successful.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed it.
It's a freaking amazing cigar. I remember I first seen it, somebody smoking it, and then you know, like I told you when we first met out here at Dapper D's, I was like, man, you know, people are freaking ringing bells on this, and I have not had it at that time, and I was like, man, and then you gave me one to try as a sample. I was like, oh my God. Like, I can understand what you're saying when you said from first perspective, this is going to sell very well, because it was a very, very complex and robust cigar that gave a lot of notes out of it that was, I mean, even a novice would have enjoyed, you know, let alone the cigar enthusiast.
Yeah, the sizes are great. I mean, again, like at the end of the day, the cigars have to sell. Like, I'm not there to smoke them. That's not what they're paying me to do. They're paying me to make sure that it's what the market wants. Yeah. And so I always have to keep that in mind. Like, for instance, the Lunatic, you're smoking the short Robusto, which is the size I love, but we sell an 8x80 version of that. a 4 3/4 by 70. I'll be quite frank with you. That's not my size. It's not. It's not what I like to smoke. We sell tons of them. Tons of them. It's some of our biggest sellers are all 60 ring gauge plus, and they're blended to size. So it's not just they threw a bunch of tobacco in. So for what they're supposed to be, if they're excellent, and there's a segment of the market that wants that. I always joke with guys like Lancero, and we have a great Lancero. We have one called the Anniversario. It's a box press Lancero. It's amazing, delicious cigar.
Rare.
Yeah, but the problem is that you tell a guy these are harder to roll and you're getting so much wrapper flavor and he kind of looks at it and he goes, nah, that's kind of a girly looking cigar or whatever, and then he just can't see himself holding something like that. And so even though it's delicious, and even though a lot of guys in the industry, manufacturers, a lot of kind of guys that are really into cigars appreciate and love Lanceros, your average consumer is not a Lancero guy. So you have to take that into account when you're like, okay, we're going to make these cigars in certain sizes. What sizes are we going to make? Well, they've got to be sizes that are going to sell on the market. And so again, those are all things that aren't as the sexiest part of the industry, but they're really important because the consumer's king. The consumer, who am I to tell the consumer it's too strong or it's too big a ring gauge or or whatever? It's my job is to determine what he enjoys and make sure we're providing that experience for him.
And I think, when you start talking about the 8x80s, the JFR, I mean, it's a huge cigar. We actually carry that at DapperDCigars.com. And one of the cigars that we're going to carry simply due to the fact it sells, and it sells. People love that. Me personally, I could never imagine me putting this big fat Belly Cusco in my mouth and saying I'm gonna smoke this for the next 5 hours, because that's how long it's gonna take you to smoke that cigar. It's honestly, but it's weird because consumers like it. Consumers are thrilled about doing that, and I think it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and to your point, exactly. There's a joke. Gentleman, he passed away a few years ago, was an interesting legend. His name's Sal Fontana, and he used to always say, "There's two cigars. There's cigars that sell and cigars that don't." And so that was always his line. And and that's important for your perspective. Yeah, I mean, if you just put in there what you're passionate about, well, as long as that matches what the consumer's passionate about, then that's fine. But you can be leaving money on the table or really hurting your business if you're not paying attention to what your customer wants.
Absolutely. And I think excuse me. And I think that 8x80 is one that you guys were kind of genius about, being like, okay, we're gonna take this jump on that particular blend, because I have never smoked it, so I can only tell you what I know about it, right? Because again, it's not my preference, and I can't sit up here and sit it. But when you talk about the JFR brand that came from, and you're talking about the wrappers and the binders and fillers, and a lot of people don't understand is yes, it's kind of more of a bang for your buck, if you want to say that. But I mean, your binder filler to wrapper is really, really a game changer. It's really a game changer for what it is that you taste from that cigar. And I think majority of the time when I smoke cigars, I'm looking at it from a perspective of what can I take from this cigar and what do I enjoy from that cigar. And just, me personally, again, I want to hit on me personally. I don't feel like I can get everything that I want out of the wrapper versus, getting everything I want out of the binder and filler on that smoke.
So I mean, again, let me say again, it's not my size. It's not the size I would smoke. That said, I do feel that we do an excellent job of blending to size. And so for instance, back when this started to become popular, 660, these sizes became popular, I think there was a general thought that, oh, well, anyone that's smoking something like this doesn't have any taste, and they just packed in more filler tobacco. So they weren't good, partly because there wasn't an effort to make them good. And ours are blended to size. And for the Torch, for instance, in terms of flavor, the 70s size, the Mad Folk, is actually my favorite size. I think it's the best tasting one. The size is not what I like to smoke, but in terms of flavor, it's amazing. I smoke that side. That's I think the Toro right there, and so I smoke more of those because I prefer the size. But you, as long as you're factoring the size into the blend, then you can still make a really, really flavorful smoke. The 880 I've smoked too. I smoked one because I didn't want to sell anything that I didn't smoke.
Right.
And then we do what's called spot check validation every once in a while, where we open a box of something just to see how it's performing. And I drew the short straw on that one, and I smoked it in 4 hours But I mean, in terms of the flavor, I think they're actually, competitive to a lot of other things out there that are in smaller ring gauges, if not better in some cases. It's just the size. And like you said, also, a guy that, let's just say he's smoking 3 cigars a day of Robustos. Well, now he can get an 8x80, and it's like almost having 4 cigars. And maybe his or her wife or husband isn't yelling at him so much anymore because he's spending a little bit less money, and he's not smoking any less. And, he's got a long drive or playing 18 holes of golf. So, there's definitely a combination of value there to it, but it's also, I mean, other people make big ring gauge cigars, and I would say we're probably the most successful at it because we really blend to the size, and they're really great tasting.
And shout out to James. I'm gonna pull his comment back up real quick. Real Man Smoke Cigars. I love a good. I said Real Man Smoke Cigars. Real Man Smoke Lanceros, and I love a good Lancero. And I want to take it back to that comment because when you stated that the guys look at the Lanceros like it's pretty dainty. I don't really want to smoke this. I think that is the best way to gauge a brand, in my personal opinion. I feel like you're going to get the more accurate taste notes out of a cigar lineup when it's in a Lancero, because it's so much less than filler and binder. It's more of the wrapper, and then it's engaging the binder and the wrapper. I mean, the binder and the filler as you smoke it. What's your thoughts on Lanceros?
Yeah, I personally love the Lancero. I think the craftsmanship, it's very hard to make. It's very hard to make consistently. The margin of error is much lower. A little bit of extra tobacco here, it won't draw, or it'll throw off the taste. So you really need your top rollers to make them. Personally, I love them. But like I said, people, they just look at them and they go. And again, for what I do, it's important to remember that people don't just smoke based on the taste. They don't, because the best way to do this is take somebody's cigar and and they say, this is my favorite cigar in the world. I love it. Take the band off and put a Trump 2020 band or a Biden 2020 band or something like that. And that same guy might not, well, now he doesn't like it. It's the same cigar,
right.
But now he won't smoke it because of what the cigar represents to him now. And so size, the band, the packaging, the overall marketing of the company. I mean, as you get more into like real hardcore cigar aficionados and consumers, they care much less about that. But for your average consumer, a yellow kangaroo has sold a ton of wine, man. That kangaroo is that the lady walks in, sees a lovable kangaroo, looks at the price, it's pretty reasonable. And it's that lovable kangaroo that separated it from whatever was next to it that had a funny name that she couldn't pronounce. And so those, it's just, I don't want to be misconstrued in that. Like, I don't think Lanceros are good. I think Lanceros are awesome. I personally, it's one of my favorite sizes, along with a 6x46 Corona Gorda. But in terms of when we come out with something, you can't really, if you like, take your store, you only have so much room in there. Every space has got to pay its rent. And so when you're bringing in products, you got to say, okay, what's going to sell on my shelf? Yeah. And so you do have some stores that specialize in Lanceros and things like that, but for the most part, it's not a size that sells well. And so if you're only going to be able to come out with 3 sizes, now do you really want to have one of them be one of probably the worst selling size out there? Now again, there's also limited editions. Like I said, we make a couple Lanceros, and in shops that specialize in those types of things, we really we do well with them. But it's not a top 20 seller for us, and it's one of my favorite cigars. One of our most highly rated. It was number 2 in Cigar Snob. The Casa Fernandez Miami Lancero was a top 10 in aficionado a few years back. So they're highly acclaimed, delicious, love them, but they're just not the big sellers for reasons that really have nothing to do with the taste.
Right. And you hit on a topic that I think we should kind of go down that rabbit hole a little bit, and it's really understanding what sells. A lot of consumers look at cigar lounges and be like, well, they don't have what I want. And unfortunately, when people say that, they're really only looking at it from one perspective. Oh yeah, I want to be able to come in and buy this cigar. But are you willing to come in and buy that box of cigars? Because it's all about, it's all about how that space, like you said, that space it has to pay its rent, So when you're speaking to shops, even smaller shops, and you're kind of recommending what it is that somebody is going to put in, like what is that determining factor for you that is like, okay, you should probably put this or that or this or that?
A big part of it is who is your. There's two aspects of it. One is that, especially stores that are well run, if the owner is enthusiastic about the product in general, it'll do well. So that's the first thing, is you want to get the owner or his staff, his manager, whoever you're dealing with, to really understand. And that's why we do these fuma tastings where we show them how we create our signature flavor, what's special about us, and that's a huge part of it. But that said, the second part is your consumer base. So you take, let's say, a high-end cigar bar, someplace, in Miami or something like that, or in New York or Chicago or LA. That guy doesn't want to sell New Cuba. He's got a lot of rent to pay. A guy's coming in there, he's expecting to spend a certain amount of money, and you don't want to sell him a $3 cigar. One, he doesn't want that, and number two, you're just undercutting you got high rent area, whatever. You can't make a living on that. Or maybe you have kind of an outlet type store that guys come in and they're buying their cigar. They smoke 3-4 cigars a day, but they're on budgets and things like that. Now, if that's your consumer, you don't want a $20 cigar. It's probably not gonna sell there. So you have to really understand what's the market for the store, like what's the demographics for the area, one, and then two, what is the store trying to be, and you have to kind of factor those things into it. So, I mean, again, there's places where I would say a Lancero is a great cigar. There's stores where they've cultivated that type of educated smoker, and they just love Lanceros. And so, okay, this is we have got a great Lancero for you. And then another store, that's they have more of a traditional, Robusto Toros, and then the Lancero won't do well. So you really have to. Again, it's more about the owner, his store, and his customers than it is anything about us.
Yep. And I think a lot of people just hitting on this comment that just came up right now. I don't smoke the band. The cigar flavor has to make me happy. $5 or $20. I'll try it once and with a completely open-minded. And James, I think just speaking onto that comment, I think that is a realistic way of looking at it, but I think a lot of consumers go into cigar smoking by looking at the band. And I think when you talk about presentation of band, Aganorsa Leaf is one of those that you have to, bring up. You guys have really put in some arts and craft into making those bands pop and making them, be something that people want. How much of your hands into that process was in that, as well as what do you do to make sure that not only does the first time come out with a bang, but it's also something that brings people back?
So, and again, to the point, like I especially on a show like this, we're going to have a lot more people that I usually get a lot of eye rolls when I say things like about the band and packaging and all that stuff. And I hear that comment a lot. And so, we take an approach to educate people so that they don't care about the band. So we do the Fuma tastings. Here, try this Corojo 99 from Jalapa. It's a Viso leaf. Try this Criollo 98 from Esteli. It's a Viso leaf, but completely different flavor. Put them together, smoke them together, see how that creates a different flavor. So we spend a lot of time, because we feel that's to our advantage, because we don't have the marketing budget that a lot of the big companies have that can really razzle and dazzle you. So to us, that's really important. But it is something that has to be taken into account, because there's great cigars. I mean, to use a great example, our Aganorsa Leaf Connecticut, which is one of our best sellers, we changed the band on it and it went from being absolutely a dead brand to being one of our best sellers. And it's the same cigar. I mean, we didn't do anything different. It's literally the exact same cigar. So for us, we just want to make sure we're going to do everything we can so that we can allow the tobacco to stand on its own. And that's really our tagline is our leaf is our strength. What's special about us is the tobacco we grow, and you should be smoking us because you really love the flavor profile. And we do a lot to educate consumers for that purpose, because it's our advantage. But like I said, you can put something on a band that turns the guy off. The great example is the Buena Cosecha. I literally, when I joined the company, I started handing that to people because I wanted them. I'm like, see how good these cigars are. And the guy would look at the band and he would go, "Eesh, what's this?" Like, and there's actually a customer. He smokes it all the time. It's one of his favorite cigars, and he hated it when I sent it to him the first time with the old band, and then I sent it to him again with the new band. And this was the same cigars with the bands taken off and new bands put it on. So it wasn't even a new production run. And he goes, "This is a different cigar." And I said, "No, it's the same cigar, man." So I know people, the bottom line is marketing companies get paid tons and tons of money. People spend, millions of dollars on Super Bowl ads, and they spend all sorts of marketing groups to understand the consumer and what they're interested in. They don't do that as a charity. They do that because if you don't convey who you are well, you're going to turn people off before they've had the opportunity to enjoy the product, and that's just the nature of the beast. But like I said, we do everything we can to make that matter as little as possible. We're not going to win based on swag or fancy ads or fancy videos. Our biggest thing is getting inside the shops in the trenches with our retail partners and their staff and the consumers, and doing demonstrations and seminars and showing how our tobacco is different. And that's what's special about us. And that's why you should smoke Aganorsa, not because of the band.
Yeah. So as far as the FUMA events that you do, like, where can people find those type of events at? Like, is that a factory, something just done at the factory?
So we really, and again, just to be clear, I didn't invent this. There's a lot of people that do FUMA events. Davidoff has done them for a million years. Michael Herklotz from Nat Sherman, he does an incredible one. Jose Blanco. So it's not an original thing. What we did is we kind of simplified it so that anybody, regardless of their level of experience, can enjoy it. We only use two FUMAs. We use two FUMAs that are basically in all our cigars. Corojo and Criollo from Jalapa and Nestle is at some part of every cigar you're going to smoke from Aganorsa. Absolutely. So we're kind of saying, okay, here's the backbone of Aganorsa. Here's two different seeds, two different regions. They can clearly taste the difference between the two. And so we do those at retail stores formally as an event. Like, for instance, you would sell tickets and have a sit-down seminar, and we would do the whole demonstration. But sometimes we also do it with our reps where they're in the store, and it's a new store. There's some new customers or new employees, and they go, "Here, do you have 5 minutes? Let me walk you through this." And we can do it very informally and very quickly. So we try to do it wherever we go, because that's really important. And again, it's a different way to approach people, because generally speaking, a guy walks in the shop and then the rep says, "Hey, buy 4 get 1 free," or whatever the deal is, or whatever, get a hat, and it's kind of, you're coming at the guy right after he got out of work or whatever, and he just wants to sit down and relax. Whereas the way we approach it is, "Hey, would you like to learn how we create the signature profile we're known for?" There's no cost to it, and they'll say, "Okay, yeah, sure, I'd like to do that." Or if there is a cost where they get some food and they get some, delicious beverages along with it, they're getting something. It's not simply, some sort of deal. It's an educational process. And I've had people that have been smoking for 20 years, 30 years that said, "You know what, I've never done anything like this. I always thought all these tasting notes were BS." And they're like, "You know what, I taste that on the Corojo, I get that sweetness, I get that salivation. On the Criollo, I'm getting that salt taste on the roof of my palate." And so it really is an eye opener for a lot of consumers to see how important the blending process is, and the importance of ingredients. The greatest chef in the world, it has bad ingredients, the food's going to only be so good.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think you hit it spot on. For us here at Dapper D's, man, we would definitely love to get Aganorsa down for that FUMA event. And to all my people that's in Jacksonville, For all those people that's here in Jacksonville that wants to partake in that's something that we will set up with you guys. You know, we honestly cannot wait to get you guys out here to the shop. I think, you know, being that one, we're new, and then being that the fact that I'm big on cigar education. I am huge on educating as much as I possibly can. That's why I created Jack the Cigar Enthusiast YouTube channel, was simply to engage the educational part of cigars. And you know, I think anytime you can get somebody to see the aspect of what blenders go through when they're blending cigars, I think it's an ultimate success. So we would love to have you down here for an event, or have your staff down here for that event to do that. And that's something that we can talk about afterwards. One thing on the virtual smoke deck that we do as we wrap up here is it's called gems. And what we do is we drop a gem for anybody that's watching, whether it's a business owner, whether it's somebody that's been in the industry for a long time, or somebody that's really, you know, joining the industry. What is one gem that comes from Terence heart that can be conveyed to the viewers tonight?
So this is like some other business to a recommendation.
It can be anything that comes to your mind. Whatever type of gem that you want. It can be motivational. It can be, you know, business. It can be cigar wise. It can be, you know, religion based. It does not matter what it is. It's something that Terence wants to convey to the consumers.
For me, the biggest thing is always to trust your palate, believe in your palate. Don't let other people tell you what's the best thing is. Go out there and make your own decisions and educate yourself. And I think the biggest thing for us is to remind the consumer that they're the boss, and that they're the ones whose palate determines what's good or not. And so that's always, I'd say, the biggest thing that I always like to convey to people.
Absolutely. Well, Terence, I definitely appreciate your time. It was very, very educational, very, very deep. And I think, you know, a lot of the consumers that's watching, or even business owners that's watching, was able to take something from this. So we wanted to first say, you know, thank you so much for, again, taking your time out your day to come onto the virtual smoke deck.
No, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you having me. And like I said, I mean, just the enthusiasm that you show, that's what this industry needs. As soon as I heard the introduction, I was like, this is going to be a great night. Yeah. And that really transfers to everybody. And so, and you know, people feed on that, you know, so I feed on that, and then I hopefully bring that to other people. So I love getting the opportunity to do this. So I really appreciate you thinking of me to have me on the show.
And Terence, thank you so much for your time. And stay smoky and put some smoke in the air, brother.
I like the way you think. Take care. Thanks so much, man.
You have a good one, brother.
You too.
Hey, one thing about the virtual smoke that we love and that we do the most is we try to, you know, convey different messages. It's not just one, you know, one brand, this brand is better than the next. It's all about, you know, taking the time and effort to really jump into different brands and learn different things. And I think, as we expressed today in this segment of the virtual smoke deck, it's all about education. You got to educate your mind. You got to educate your palate. When you call something a hobby, when you call something a passion, you have to understand what it is that you're doing and how it correlates to where it is that you're trying to go. You know, Terence is one of the few reps that have came and seen Dapper D's at its very finest moments, and that's in before the walls go up, before the slab is pouring, before you see a great presentation of a cigar. And when you have a brand that supports you, especially for all my cigar lounges, cigar lounge owners and retailers out there, you know, it's best to, you know, put them at that limelight and, you know, give them thanks because they deserve it. So we definitely appreciate Terence stopping by. Next week for our virtual smoke deck segment, we have Robert from Southern Draw Cigars coming on, and I think that's going to be just another amazing segment. And as I told anybody, man, if this is your first time watching the virtual smoke deck, I'm sure you had a great time. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. Give us turn on the notification bell and give us a big thumbs up. Also, if you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and like Dapper D's. Go follow us at Dapper D's Cigars for all the updated content on what it is that we're doing. Big thing for December, we're announcing our grand opening date, which is going to be epic. So if you guys are not in touch with that, man, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also go to go to Instagram and follow us at Dapper D Cigars, man. Like I said, if you're following us on those, you're not missing nothing that we're putting out, man. We make sure we do a great job on updating that, and make sure we do a great job on, putting those things out there for you guys to know. Man, I appreciate all my viewers that watched today, all the people that contributed to sharing, making watch parties. You guys are the true MVPs. I cannot sit here and do this without you guys. So I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. If you're looking for a place to go shop, a premium, affordable, and premium. If you're looking for a place to go shop affordable and premium boutique cigars, man, go make sure you visit DapperDCigars.com. And also, if you're in the Jacksonville area, go ahead and get in tune with Dapper D's, because we're here to make a wave. With that being said, I'm Jack the Cigar Enthusiast. I hope you guys enjoyed this segment, and I hope you guys enjoyed y'all night with me. Unfortunately, I feel like the Eagles is lost because I didn't see them win or anybody comment on that. With that being said, man, y'all have a great Sunday. Continue to stay smoky and put some smoke in the air. With that being said, I'm Jack the Cigar Enthusiast, and I'm gone.